Well, welcome to this issue of Discovering Truth at the Movies. Hello, my name is David Lance. And so today we're going to be looking at this episode of the Chronicles of Belteshazzar, where Daniel convinces Nebuchadnezzar that God will reveal the king's dream to him. Little does he know, however, that Haman plots to have him assassinated. The issue of betrayal leads to a conversation about this issue found in the movie Collateral Beauty for our question for reflection. I just want you to know that I'm reading each chapter of the Chronicles of Belteshazzar about every other week. I'm posting them on my podcast at Discovering Truth at the Movies and also on my YouTube channel. And I want you to know that I'm getting ready to finally get around to publishing the book, The Chronicles of Belteshazzar. I hope to have it out sometime in the September timeframe. And so please email me at dlance@wisejargon.com. That's spelled DLANTZ at wisejargon.com. If you'd like to learn more about how you can partner with me to distribute the novel when it's ready. And so without further ado, let's begin chapter 13, in which Nebuchadnezzar summons Daniel. "That sure was good hot chocolate, Nai," said Isaac as he, Matthew, and Josiah came back into the sunroom. "Thank you, Isaac. You boys have a good time listening to Grandpa's story. I'm going to take Gabriel down the hall and put him to bed. It's time for him to go to sleep." "But I can stay up with Isaac and Matthew, right, Nai?" asked Josiah. "Yes, for now. We'll see how long you last," she replied. Just then, Grandpa entered the room, dressed again in the costume, ready to continue his story. "Okay, it's time for you all to learn about Nebuchadnezzar's dream," he announced, and took his place to continue the story. As Nai closed the door behind her, Grandpa opened the Chronicles of Belteshazzar and began to read. "In the 4th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, the powers of light battled the forces of darkness in the heavenly realms. To Daniel, the God of heaven revealed the secret things. Thus, in that year, a prophecy of future things to come was given to King Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon in a dream. To Daniel of Jerusalem was given the task of revealing its meaning." From the Chronicles of Belteshazzar. Arriving at the palace, Daniel waited outside the great meeting hall. Naaman had gone ahead to request that Nebuchadnezzar meet with Daniel. It was forbidden for anyone to directly seek an audience with the king. Under Babylonian law, the king must first summon the individual into his presence. Daniel was content to let Naaman intercede for him. Finally, the door to the meeting hall opened and Daniel was escorted inside. Haman, along with the other members of Nebuchadnezzar's court, awaited him. Daniel walked beside Naaman and approached Nebuchadnezzar. "Naaman has brought your petition to us, and so I have granted you an audience. Will you declare the content of my dream and its meaning to me?" Nebuchadnezzar stood, fists balled and pressed into either hip. Behind him, Haman glared at Daniel so intently it seemed lightning bolts would leap from his eyes. "O king, live forever," Daniel said, bowing to his knee. "The interpretation of dreams is not in me or any man. However, my God will reveal to me what Nebuchadnezzar has dreamed and its meaning. Give your servant one day, and I will provide you the answers you seek." Nebuchadnezzar nodded to Daniel and took his seat. "Go then and return here tomorrow morning at this time to declare my dream, and I will richly reward you. Fail, and you will die." Daniel rose and took his leave of Nebuchadnezzar to find his friends and pray. Naaman watched him as he left. Only hours ago, he had been sent to kill him, and now Naaman would have to make doubly sure that Daniel would live another 24 hours. "We must act more quickly than we had planned." Haman spat the words from his mouth as he paced the floor. "Tomorrow morning, Daniel will declare Nebuchadnezzar's dream. He must be killed tonight." Haman's servant Reuben sat as calmly as he could, given the circumstances. Whether or not he believed Daniel could declare and interpret the king's dream, Haman did, and that was that. "I have selected my men with care." Haman smiled and went to a small chest in a corner of the room. From it, he withdrew 4 pieces of parchment, each rolled into a small scroll. All had been sealed with hot wax, with the insignia of the house of Ashkelon stamped into the wax. Each letter conveyed a forged command to its recipient to kill Daniel. The assassination was to take place at 3 in the morning, when the soldiers guarding Daniel would change. Haman would arrange to have the guards desert their posts, giving the assassins the opening they needed to kill Daniel. He gave the letters to his servant. How did you select your assassins? Reuben reached out and took the letters. It was most easy. I have a spy in the Queen of Ashkelon's apartment. Her name is Shala, and she is the queen's servant. She supplied me with their top people. Once Daniel is dead, we will be able to accuse the Ashkelonites in his murder. It will lead to mass rioting. In the turmoil, you will be able to seize control from Nebuchadnezzar. Haman smiled. This stupid dream of Nebuchadnezzar's has forced me to speed up my timetable. But yes, you are quite right. Now go. There is little time to prepare for what must be done tonight. Reuben bowed and left. Haman watched him go and then turned out to look out the window. He spread his hands and leaned on the windowsill and gazed out to the southeast. Even now, Elam, I call on you to come to my aid. In a week, Babylon will have a new king. Clouds raced by underneath him, flying effortlessly through the sky. Daniel descended to earth. Below him, it appeared that the surface of the earth moved with blinding speed. No, not the earth itself, but what was upon it. Cities rose and fell. The land changed in patches from forest to grassland to desert. Clouds of smoke would cover the cities and then disappear as quickly as they had come. As he flew, Daniel saw a great statue, like none he had ever seen before. It was made of various elements: gold, silver, bronze, iron, and clay. It was as though Daniel awoke and knew that the Lord had given him the dream. Throughout the day, Daniel had secluded himself to pray and to read his scrolls that his father had given him. He had asked his friends to pray for him as well, and he had meditated the day wore on into evening. Sometime during the night, Daniel had fallen asleep. Grasping his lamp, he quickly lit it and looked down at the scroll of Moses he'd been reading before nodding off. There before him lay the passage over which he'd been meditating. Look, today I have set before you life and death, depending on whether you obey or disobey. I have commanded you today to love the Lord your God and to follow his paths and to keep his laws, so that you will live and become a great nation, and so that the Lord your God will bless you and the land you are about to possess. Fully awake, Daniel dressed himself and went to his window. Judging by the night sky, it was around 3 in the morning. He had remained in his room all day long and felt the need to get out and walk around. The Lord had revealed to Daniel Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and he wanted to go for a walk to think through its meaning and to give thanks. Exiting his chambers, Daniel made his way down a hallway which would lead him to one of the palace's inner courtyards. Daniel's thoughts focused solely on the dream, but even had he not been preoccupied with the vision he had just seen, Daniel was not the type to notice that the guard who should have been posted outside his door was missing. As he rounded a corner, Daniel stopped to take a ladle hanging from a large water jug. Dipping the ladle into the jug, he took a long drink of the cool, wet liquid. Refreshed, he wiped a few stray droplets from his lips. Daniel was about to replace the ladle when he heard a low whisper, followed by footsteps coming from the direction of his chambers. At first, Daniel thought it was the guard who had been stationed outside his door, and then froze, suddenly realizing that there had been no guard when he had left his chambers. Quickly, in the dimness of the shadows, Daniel scanned the courtyard grounds. Built into the shape of a square, each side was approximately 30 yards long. An inner walkway underneath a balcony traversed the full length of the courtyard's perimeter with cylindrical pillars placed out about every 6 yards. Daniel had entered at the northeast corner of the courtyard, and the only other exit lay diagonal across the courtyard at the southwest corner. Daniel was about to make a run for it across the lawn to the other end, but then realized he would be an easy target for anyone stationed on the roof or of the perimeter. He turned and began to make his way along the inner perimeter. Behind him, he heard the clank of swords being pulled from their scabbards, and then heavy breathing of the men who held them. From behind a pillar, Daniel turned to look back and saw 4 men begin to fan out across the courtyard, 2 coming in his direction, the other 2 moving to cover the northwest quadrant of the courtyard. He would have to make a run for it. Daniel bolted from behind the pillar where he had been hiding towards the other exit at the southwest corner of the courtyard. He could hear footsteps approaching rapidly from the rear, gaining on him. He got to the exit of the courtyard and came to an abrupt halt, just in time to avoid colliding with the 3 men who emerged from the shadows of the gateway. Well, at this point, I want to share a personal reflection. In this story, Daniel is being betrayed by Haman. And so betrayal can happen in many ways and take many forms. Years ago, I worked in the telecommunications industry. The time frame was about 2001 to 2003, back when the internet was just beginning to build out into the business community. Lots of people had heard about the internet, and more companies were attempting to take the on-ramp to the information superhighway. The company I worked for, I'll just call it the company, had 2 primary sales channels. The first and primary channel was the direct sales channel, where the salespeople would call on businesses in the service market to see if they wanted to switch from their current telecom provider. A method of direct sales to the end-use customer is the traditional sales method, and that's what the company used in this particular case. There is no middleman. You just go out and sell your services, and then the customer hooks up the phone and the data lines to their end-use hardware, phone systems, computer systems, etc. In sales terminology, direct sales associates are hunters who hunt for new customers, sell them, and then leave customer service issues to another department in the company. It's just not their concern. The second channel, the one I managed, developed partnership arrangements with existing companies that sold telecommunications related hardware services, such as business phone systems and business computer systems. They needed our services to connect phone lines and data lines to their existing clients. Through this alternate sales channel, the company sought to leverage existing customer relationships maintained by the hardware sales companies. These hardware companies saw the ability to sell telecommunication network services, that is, phone lines, data lines, and web hosting, as an added tool they could include in their toolbox, and also get paid to do so by my company. The company saw the advantage of being able to leverage these existing relationships as a way to more quickly grow the customer footprint in the new market. My job was to be a farmer and cultivate these growing relationships. Unlike the direct sales channel, I was very concerned about good customer service so that I could grow these relationships. Back in the company office where I worked, it was me and 20 or so direct sales associates. Now, to them, I was just another competitor, as they were not allowed to sell to the customers who had been won by my group of alternate channel partners. I share all of this as background to the challenge I came to face as personnel turned over in the sales office. I worked to build good relationships with the direct sales teams, even helping to train new hires. But as time went on, sales managers left and were replaced, and the new people came to see me not as a team partner, but as a competitor. This change was driven by the method of sales compensation. You see, initially, when we set up the office, the general manager received a commission from both the direct and the alternate sales channels. However, the company changed its compensation plan, and a new general manager was hired. And so the new general manager received his commission only off of the direct sales channel, not from my work. This arrangement led to the regional sales direct sales manager working with direct sales representatives to alter paperwork related to sales that my alternate sales channel partners had made. This practice of stealing accounts came to a head when at one point I had a private meeting with the regional sales director and showed him 20 pages of documentation tracing how sales paperwork had been altered. It was a trying time for me, and I felt very much betrayed by a company that I had worked hard to promote. Here's the point of all of this. The story of Daniel being targeted by Haman for assassination is a type of betrayal. And betrayal can take the shape of anything from office politics to marital infidelity, or in the case of my story about Daniel, assassination. There are many situations in human experience in which betrayal happens. It is always painful, and often multiple parties are to blame. The challenge for us as parents and grandparents is to help the young people in our lives learn how to deal with these situations, admitting sin on our part and telling the story of our experience in a way that benefits the child. That's why I so appreciate the character Whit Yardsham, played by Edward Norton, in the movie Collateral Beauty. Because he cheated on his wife, she divorced him. Throughout the movie, Whit is trying to get his daughter to spend time with him. He's honest about it being his fault that their relationship has fallen apart. There is a scene in the movie when he asks his daughter Allison why she won't spend time with him. He says to her, "Why don't you want to spend the holidays with me? I miss you." And she answers, "Because I hate you, because you're a philanthropist, and because you broke mom's heart." Resigned to his guilt, Whit concludes with this exchange, which says, "Philanderer." Allison says, "What?" Whit responds, "The word you're looking for is philanderer, not philanthropist. They have a slightly different meaning." Allison retorts, "Well, you would know." The question for reflection today comes from this, and that is, how do we handle discussions of betrayal with our children, either when we are the victim or the perpetrator? Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Discovering Truth at the Movies in Chapter 13 of the Chronicles of Belteshazzar. I want to encourage you to sign up for my monthly newsletter, Conversations with the Culture, at wisejargon.com/@the-movies. And if you're interested in learning more about my upcoming book, The Chronicles of Belteshazzar, to please contact me, and then we can talk about how we can partner together on that. Well, thanks so much, and until next time, God bless.